From Wakefield, it's the Ice-T Meme Show starring NoLdAwG, inviting you to join NoLdAwG and his guest this week, Michael Sangiuliano, back to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's NoLdAwG. And welcome everyone back for another edition of the program. I'm so happy that you're back with us for the season 2, episode 16 of the Ice-T Meme Show with yours truly, NoLdAwG, his podcast. We're getting to the end of the season finale next week. Season 2, episode 17. I'm thinking of having a big guest, or at least I think it will be a big guest. I know it will. I got to send out a message to him, see if he wants to do it. If not, I'll try other people. But I'm thankful to you all. So I'm stuttering that you've all stayed with us, or new people on here. But for all those who stayed with us, I appreciate it. You know, this is a small operation and it's a slow thing. So sometimes episodes won't have a lot of streams or views, or maybe, but we're getting there. Don't worry. And I have a long list, like I mentioned in the show, a long Excel sheet, grouped out or sectioned off, whatever you want to call it, of different categories like athletes, musicians, politicians, and other people, and alternatives, and actors as well. Yes, that I want to have on. So I got to start to pick and choose which ones I want to have on first that I can feel out questions to. And we'll go from there, but stay with us because the show's going to be great today, and we had a great guest, Michael Sangiuliano, so stay with us. We'll be right back with the rest of the show and our segment that I always love to do, the Ice-T Meme Show News Cycle. See you soon. 5. One. And welcome back, everyone, to the Ice-T Meme Show, Season 2, Episode 16. Yeah, 16, correct. Yeah. I'm so happy you stayed with us to the commercial break. We got such a great show for you planned today. You're going to really enjoy it. We got Michael Sangiuliano coming on to the show. But before that, we got to get to a segment I like to call
What Happened This Past Week with NoLdAwG.
In this, I do my little news segment, like the Ice-T Meme Show News Cycle, where I discuss all things current events, sports, business, politics, entertainment, general news, health, and stuff like that to my best ability. But without further ado, let's get to the segment. At the top of the Ice-T news cycle, the U.S. Olympic team is in the news as track star Sha'Carri Richardson has been suspended 1 month after she tested positive for THC at her 100-meter victory at the Olympic trials last month. Richardson getting suspended for something like this is the equivalent of Biden getting a flavor other than vanilla chip. It just doesn't make sense. Boom. If it couldn't get any worse for a certain person, Namibian 18-year-old sprinters Christine Boma and Patrice Masilingi, will not be allowed to compete in the women's 400-meter race at the Tokyo Olympics due to having naturally high testosterone levels, or to the Namibia National Olympic Committee. Being banned this year from running because of high testosterone is like the equivalent of a stay-at-home mom buying a bag of grapes with expired coupons thinking it's still good. Boom. In a moment of high hopes, football legend Larry Fitzgerald is one step closer to becoming an NBA champion as he's a minority owner of the Phoenix Suns. Props to Fitzgerald for being more of a snake than Kevin Durant and couldn't even win a title with his own team, let alone in the same league. But in the NBA with a team that got lucky because LeFraud gave up carrying his team and Paul George choked once again. That was butchered. Sorry. Last week, the NCAA made the decision that now allows college athletes to monetize their names, images, and likeness, sparking conversation about giving Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back. Ed O'Bannon must feel like Rush Limbaugh getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. If Bush gets his trophy back, then pizza parlors should take pineapple away from pizza because you can't have something given without something removed for good. Boom. For this joke made about essence as Ed O'Bannon thinking he's going to get compensated for this news. Boom. Sorry. According to labor reports, the U.S. labor market is on pace to stage a complete recovery in 7 months, according to Business Insider. After hearing this, Trump went on to Gab and preached how this was all I was doing and Joe Biden sucks. Boom. A study published in the journal Nature Communications suggests that dinosaurs were in decline for as many as 10 million years prior to when they actually did. After reading this story, Governor DeSantis banned every school in Florida from teaching about dinosaurs because it's the truth, and the only thing he cares about is future generation of Trump ass kissers. This past weekend, the U.S. and Mexico bared witness to hell itself as a blaze on the Gulf of Mexico resembling a large eye of fire. before it was eventually brought under control. When asked about it, Marjorie Taylor Greene said, this is why Joe Biden isn't legally president, because he's sending Jewish scientists led by George Soros creating these events to mess with the true Americans and Republicans." Pretty good impression. Then Kevin McCarthy and McConnell gave her a cookie and warm milk and said to get the hell away. Boom. Actually, it goes like this. Boom. According to Bloomberg Quick Take, the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine protects against the Delta variant, the company says. After hearing that on Fox News, Republicans thought that meant Delta Airlines, and meaning protected them from liberals protesting about saving the turtles at the front of the airport. Boom. There we go, did it quickly. During a recent in-person interview with Sean Hannity, the former guy said he has made up his mind in regards to his 2024 political ambitions. Trump making his followers wait this long is like a parent telling their kid, well, we'll see, when they ask for a sleepover for the first time in 6 months during the summer. Boom. Felicia Rashad has found her hands tied more than a kid's magician, as she caused some controversy after showing support for Bill Cosby during his release last Wednesday before following up with an apology tweet and letter to Harvard University students and parents. Now, if this was the NFL, she would have been fired immediately. Maybe she had already managed to stay relevant. Then she would have been fully canceled. Boom. Get it? Because, she hasn't been relevant in years. Butchered that joke again. If that wasn't enough controversy for you, I got more for you as a leaked phone call of ESPN's Rachel Nichols reacting to Maria Taylor hosting the NBA Finals coverage instead of her. I thought adults knew better than to complain like schoolgirls on the playground. Boom. But to be honest, though, first you're a ginger, and now you're losing your job to someone who's better and can't get canceled ever. Boom. Butchered that one as well. A day where high school and college dudes were flying their Trump flags embarrassingly high, dogs and veterans ran to the most safest room upstairs as the United States celebrated 4th of July this past weekend. More dogs scaled their staircase walls than Bruce Lee and entered the dragon. Boom. More people drank Bud Light and Trulies than your alcoholic relatives Monday through Friday. Boom. An event causing for celebration as Nick Cannon announced he recently welcomed his 4th child in 1 year last weekend. Like Devin Booker during a game, he can't miss anywhere on the court. Good for Cannon being more famous for his cannon than the hats he wears on his head. Boom. And you know what I mean by that. And what was more Americana than high school Trump fans flying 2 USA flags from their trucks, Mark Zuckerberg was pictured flying the American flag while surfing on an electric surfboard this past 4th of July. This was so American that it made college girls wearing USA matching colored clothes and dressed up dogs look like knockoff brand food you see at the grocery store next to the real stuff. Boom. And to close up the ITM news cycle, Luka Doncic saved the day again as he helped to take Slovenia, his home country, to the Olympics for the first time in the country's history. Props for Doncic not choking for once and helping his team to the big dance, unlike in the NBA where the roster isn't made up of guys who played overseas their entire career. That's up in the Ice Team Meme Show news cycle this week. Stay with us. We're right back with the rest of the show. Our guest for this week, this edition of the show, season 2, episode 16, Michael Sangiuliano. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ice Tea and Meme Show. I'm honored to be back again. We're season 2, episode 15. We're getting closer and closer to the season 2 finale next week. So season 2, episode 16 of the show, season 2 finale. So stay with us. I'm going to try to get a special guest. The show, hopefully we can continue afterwards. We may have to take a break. Who knows? But I'm looking to bring the guest up higher, big name stars. Although my guest today, who could be bigger than him in the state of Rhode Island and southern New England? But I want to, without further ado, I want to introduce my guest. He's returning back for probably the 3rd or 4th time on this program. He means a great deal. One of, if not my closest friends, Mr. Michael Sangiuliano. Michael, thank you for joining us on the program this week.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to preface this, my friend, dear Michael. I had an event that happened in my life recently that Michael, I mentioned briefly to you when you were available, because you're a busy guy, and me and my mother were just discussing it again a little bit about something. But I thank you though for waiting patiently. I know you're busy, so I'll try to make it short. I only have 1 page of stuff. I'll ask you first how you been since we've last chatted and or last seen each other, and then I'll discuss my heck of a last week and a half that I've had.
All right. Well, not much is due. I finished 3 of my summer classes, and now I'm just in my internship class, which meets every Tuesday night until the end of July. So I'm working full time as part of my internship, about 7 to 5 every weekday. I got the weekends off, but that's what I've been up to. Not much has changed. The family's good. I've done pretty much nothing for myself. It's just been schoolwork every
There you
day
go.
after work.
I don't
But
know.
I'm saying
I don't know how you can do that 4 summer classes during, but hey,
because I have that goal in mind, and it's going to
yes,
have me finish a semester early. So it's
yes,
hard right now, but it'll be worth it in the.
yes, yes. You'll be. I'll be suffering from through my internship class. Hopefully, in the spring while you'll be working. Well, I've had quite a fucking last week and a half, and I've talked to you briefly about it. So I'll go back in time. Last Monday, not this past Monday, but the Monday prior. No, yeah, right? Or was it last Monday? Was this past Monday? Yeah, so it wasn't this past Monday. It was the Monday prior. First day of camp. Amazing. I was looking forward to it. Went by fast. Afterwards, I am sitting at home and my mother was doing something and she was doing taxes or whatever, looking at bills, and she saw I only had about $700 left in my bank account. Um, which isn't anything to joke about or laugh about because that's not that much money. Although I had saved throughout this school year because last time that happened, I had $700 by February, and I had saved and cut stuff out. So that was a grand conversation. We got into a big argument, and she was like, "Oh, well, what happens if you get into a car, your car gets hit, or anything else like that?" And I go, "Well, God forbid." And then I said, like, I'm the luckiest man in the world. Some stupid remark. I do that, and I was, enraged. I was mad because argument blew up and stuff like that, and I hadn't done DoorDash in a while because it'd been a few weeks I'd wait because I had the summer class, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I was waiting to do it again, because I was just waiting till my summer class got over, and that was a shit time. Um, so I did DoorDash. I'm doing it more because I always do it, and the first orders, Petrucci's, I think it was, yeah. Go up to Coventry. The first order, I'm driving, going to Coventry. I forget what the street was, but you would probably know of it. Doing it, I'm about to turn left onto the street that the order's on, about a minute or two away. Take a left. I see this Mustang driving left down past me, coming past me. I said to myself, I think I have enough time to cut across. Should have waited. And that's the thing. I completely, it's not like I'm denying anything and completely blaming that person. I know I should have waited, but I didn't. And I go, and I'm a halfway across, and boom, hits my front right passenger side door. The airbags come out on the whole side. I I think just normally just reacted and put my arm up, and I luckily the car didn't bump a car over and like hit a stone wall or the sidewalk or hit someone else or a house or it was. And it was the most nervous thing ever. And the 2 kids who hit me, um, they looked like those 2 kids from like a '90s or '80s movie where they're like the bullies of like the school, but like behind them they're nothing and they have like a bad child life or home life. And I was just so shooken up, and they're yelling at me and stuff, and it was unbearable. No one was there looking at it, but people heard it, and then I went to Kent Hospital, and I had to just get checked out. I was fine, but I went when I got a little chemical burn from the airbags, and I got a little bruise, and I'll show you it. It's on my hip. If I can make it. Can't really see it.
Okay, so what's the bruise from?
The bruise, I think it was from the car. I probably should edit that part out, but whatever. Whatever. A little skin doesn't hurt anybody, especially the nuns. No, the bruise I believe is when I got moved and the side must have hit me, or I got moved around. I don't know. I didn't realize that until like a few days later when I had to take a shower. But I found out the RN lived near me. But it was so like it wasn't as much nerve wracking. I mean, it sure was nervous. But it was more of like, fuck, this happened. And for like the week after that, like I obviously knew the car was fucked, so I had to get a rental, and that wasn't too great because I just had a conversation about what happens if my car gets in an accident and I have no money left. And it was deja vu. And I said to my mom, you called it, and that happened. And it was more just pissed that this happened because It was ridiculous. So, but the first thing I grabbed was my big camp binder and my mother's Corwin mask because I wasn't going to leave without those two things. Because my camp binder, for those who don't work at as a camp supervisor at a summer day camp, and it has all the medical forms and all the contact information for the campers, and I didn't want to lose that because I'm in charge of that. And it was just such a rough situation. Then we ended up leaving the parking lot of the hospital, and my mother is meant to go right, but she was in the left lane of pulling out, so she pulled out left but went right, and she almost caused an accident. Then it was so this past week, it just has been rough. And then I just found out earlier today, around like 4:30ish, that the car was totaled, and I'll have to get a whole new car. And we didn't know what was going to happen, and just was rough. I ended up being at fault for it, and it just was rough. And I'm happy that I wasn't injured or dead or anything like that, or anything worse happened. And it stinks, and I didn't want to miss work at all because it's been a bright spot in my life, but it just was so unfortunate. It gets me pissed off because it easily could have been avoidable. So it is what it is, and as I said, shit could have been worse, but
Could have been worse.
because I just got the car last summer, and I was supposed to go up to get maintenance done to it, and that's not going to happen now. So all the little things I got from camp last year are now all gone because I'll never get the car back. But whatever, it is what it is, and that's how life goes. But that's kind of been going on with me. How was your 4th of July?
It was very nice. I so on Saturday, which was the 3rd, I did house stuff in the morning, laundry, blah blah blah, and then in the afternoon I drove down to New York, and because I hadn't seen Jenna in over a month. I hadn't seen her since she went home from school because our schedules don't line up at all.
Yeah.
Because I work every day during the week and she works like weekdays and she always works weekends and some weekdays. So she had it off for the 4th. Actually, I lied. She worked the Saturday and she worked the 4th as well.
Wow.
So what I ended up doing, we spent Saturday night when she was out of work, we went out to eat. And then she went to work at 8 a.m. the next morning. So I hung out at her house for a little bit. And then I was like, what can I do? I'm like, I'm in New York. She works till 7 p.m. So I had like all day.
Wow.
Yeah, she works very long days on the 4th. So I'm like, all right, what can I do? And I ended up driving over to Natalie's aunt's house.
Wow.
I got lunch with Natalie's aunt. Then I just kind of hung out the rest of the day. Jenna eventually got out. Her brother, when I tell you it was a fireworks show, like they were nonstop, like
Wow.
fireworks that they did right in front of her house that Jenna's brother did from like 4 o'clock until midnight, like nonstop.
There you go.
So that was the 4th. It was nice. I had a fun time. And then Monday we just hung out. We did a few things. And then I drove home Monday night and went back to work.
Oh, there you go. My 4th was fun, as I've said to you before, and others who know me know, but others don't. Every 4th of July, and where I'm from, my town, the our Parks and Rec department for our town puts together 4th of July, and they have a band and food trucks and vendors and all that stuff. And the camp staff, which is kind of like the main part of the Parks department, are in charge of working that night and selling raffle tickets and donations and trash bags. And we didn't have it last year, obviously, because the pandemic was raging then. Now it's sort of died down, which I am going to discuss with my dear guest this week, Michael Sangiuliano, on the ST Meme Show. So we had the year prior. So 4 of the 5 years, or let's say 5. Majority of the time I've worked there and they've done 4th of July, I've always had to hand out raffle tickets. And that's fine because I'll yell loudly, even when I see people I don't want to see there. And I'll have a PA system. That's great. And so I was really hoping not to do that and I could just stick to, the front gate. But I found out, we're going to switch halfway through. So I ended up doing for the entire night raffle tickets, and I worked with a friend. That was fine. The music was great. They played a lot of hits. They played "Come and Get Your Love" by Redbone. They played "Hooked on a Feeling," I believe. They played a handful. "Brandy" by Looking Glass. Great music. Take You to the Bridge, I believe it was called. I don't know. It was great. The one thing that really made me laugh was my friend Ryan, who I was working with. He likes to dress up a lot. He used to be a theater kid, and his costume. He had this big cowboy hat. He had this big flag tied around his neck, and he had pants. He always wears pants and the work shirt, and he had little flags sewn in that he did onto his pants on each leg. Maybe like two, maybe one on each leg. And we're walking around to the park because we have to go through both the softball field, the baseball field, everywhere. It was entertaining. We're walking through between the softball field and the baseball field, and there's all people there: adults, people, disabilities, young people, teenagers, smoking, drinking, whatever. It's a grand night. And one kid was riding his bike. I think he was in high school, and he sees my friend running. He goes, "Nice outfit." And Ryan said, "Thanks." And the kid who was probably in high school was like, what do you say? He was like, the flag's almost touching the ground. Don't let the flag hit the ground. And my friend Ryan was like, "Don't worry, not gonna do that. It's not gonna happen," because there's at least a decent amount of space. And he leaned backwards, like joking around with him, saying, "Oh, it's gonna touch it." And he's like, "I'm serious. Don't touch it. It's not funny." And we were like laughing, walking away, and we're like, "It's not. You're right. It's not funny. It's hilarious." And the guy gave like the biggest death stare ever. I'm like, "Calm down, dude. Like, you're fucking 17 years old. Go back to your dad's house where you love Second Amendment rights and stuff." And he was taking it out of extreme. In the grand scheme of things, it was a very stressful night because I try to sell raffle tickets, which is very degrading in a sense because no one wants to buy them. They're just to have fun, especially now with the pandemic kind of, not as powerful as it was at the beginning, and you have to walk around constantly being nice and all this stuff. And it was at the end of the night, the fireworks were great. The ending was phenomenal. It gets better every year. But I don't like handing out raffle tickets because I don't want to run to someone who seem desperate. But I mean, that's just how it is. Camp has been entertaining. I'm sure with the pandemic dying down, as I just said, at your work with not having to wear masks. If you've been double vaxxed, I'm sure it's been really exciting. I've had to deal with punishment. We've had a lot of things like that. I got some bad news today. Not going to go into it, on here because HIPAA and all that stuff, and I can share later. But it's been fun. A lot of kids who weren't there last year, who are veterans because of the pandemic, didn't come back, so now they're here this year, and it's been entertaining. So this past week and a half of camp and dealing with the car accident, has been sort of healing in a sense because now I get to be there and get to not worry about it. I saw one thing that was creepy as fuck today. Yeah, that'll be the last thing about camp. So we're at West Kingston Park. Maybe you've driven by it. I don't know. And there's tennis courts. There's a sand volleyball net. There's two baseball fields. There's a playground. There's a back section to grill and stuff. And one group was on the tennis courts playing a game. I don't even know what it was. And there's a guy who pulls and parks near the tennis courts. He's on his phone like this and looks up like you did, looking around. Look, and he's staring at the kids. Back to his phone. Swipe. Looks back up. And he's doing that constantly, up and down for like 25 minutes. I'm like, you better not be, stretching out the snake, if you know what I'm saying, underneath the steering wheel. And I almost went up to him and was like, "Can I help you?" But I didn't do it because he could have just been sitting there waiting for something, and I would have been really uncomfortable. Another weird thing that happened the other day, a kid's dad was picking him up, and his hand was out after I told him, "Oh, your son's at this section. He's got his car seat with him." Thought his hand was out for a fist bump. I put my hand out, fist bumped his hand. Not what it was doing. And it was the most uncomfortable thing ever. It was his hand was just out naturally, looking like he was going for a fist bump. And I tapped it lightly, and I was like, "Okay, he's going for a fist bump. Why not?" It's not what happened at all. And that was the most embarrassing thing that happened to me in a while. And I quickly took it away. And that was that was embarrassing. It was uncomfortable. But like I mentioned earlier, I don't know, work. Restrictions have gone down. Now most businesses and restaurants and stuff like that in Rhode Island have put out signs saying, if you're double vaxxed, you don't have to wear masks. Now I'm curious. I know you've mentioned in the past many times that at the adult daycare, the patients there who all have mental issues struggle with wearing the mask. Now that you don't have to wear masks necessarily if you've been double vaxxed, how has it been like now that the regulations have been down?
So the excuse me, the only people that are still required to wear masks at the moment are the people who have not had both vaccines. And I believe that out of everyone who's coming participant wise, we only have 2 people that are not fully vaccinated. And as far as staff goes, I think we only have 3 people. Obviously, the staff are very good. They'll wear the mask. They have no problem understanding that rule. But the 2 people that aren't vaccinated, I mean, it's just as it was before. We can remind them as much as we can throughout the day, but I mean, when you have a disease that makes you forget things after a few seconds, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So everyone who comes, anyone who's starting new or anyone who started back when we opened again after COVID had to sign a waiver, stating there's obviously still a risk that you could catch COVID because it's hard for this population to adhere to all the rules that we set forth. But we're still doing stuff like cleaning, like every however many hours, and sanitizing everyone's hands nonstop, and you're temping people when they come in still, and just like a physical, visual when people walk in. Obviously, if you don't feel well, don't come in. But I think the biggest change is now that you don't have to wear a mask, the capacity is going up a little bit more, and we're allowed to have people from the outside world come in. So people who run activities such as sitting tap dancing, or performers who come in, or the therapy animals, those are all things that we've had that we weren't allowed to have the past year because of the COVID restrictions. But now we're loosening up a little bit, and these people are allowed to come in, and that's really great for everyone who comes to the Hope Center, because those are very mentally stimulating activities, and it's really helpful for them. It benefits them and makes the day go by quicker, and they enjoy it very much. So I think things are looking up. The numbers are going up client wise, and hopefully, knock on wood, it's not going to change. We're going in the right direction.
Well, and it's similar to camp. I mean, they're both different spectrums of the age group, but it's weird because tomorrow it's going to thunder all day down. I don't know if it's going to happen across the state, but in South Kingston it will. So we'll be at the building in town called the Neighborhood Guild, and which I probably just screwed myself over. Now people know where I will be. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll be indoors all day. Now, which is weird because, I get it in a sense, because all the staff don't have to wear masks, which is weird because the kids have to wear masks all day, and including I think they have to wear all day, which is weird because we don't and they do, but they haven't said 6-year-olds, 12-year-olds can get it yet. That won't be till probably the late fall, early winter. But we just had a presenter come today. He was Atomic Allen, great, phenomenal. I loved him. He's come in the past, and we did rocket stuff. He was supposed to come tomorrow, but now we can go on field trips now, which is really exciting because I missed those, and it was so great because it took so much time out of the day, so we don't have to plan for that. And we're going to a rock spot in town, Launch, Laser Gate, United States of America, Southwick Zoo, a bowling alley in town, and maybe one other one. And I'm so happy for that. But that will be challenging because then you have some businesses where fuck it, you don't have to wear a mask, don't worry about it. And there's some you have to. And then there's some that are well, you don't have to if you don't want to, but you can if you feel like it. So it's still a weird adjustment, but it's amazing, when people, listen to the science and pay attention and say, you know what? I might not be a fan of needles. I may be unsure, but I'm going to do it because I want to get back to normal. And you see baseball and all this other stuff back to usual. And the funny thing about, science and believing that. So over the weekend, I think, or beginning of the week, I forget when it was. You know how, all those alt-right people, not alt-right, but the Republicans all create their own social media apps because they're we can't, freedom of speech is taken down now. We can't say this stuff on Twitter. Well, I always wanted to, there was one that was up there that I wanted to get and just troll people because I was to get Republicans pissed off. That'd be funny. Didn't get on the app because then it got taken down the app store. Then I got another one and I did that. I'm I'm going to do this now. And there's already been someone that has been triggered. It's weird, but it's been interesting, but I had to do that. But it's just weird, and it's not going to change in the near future. Now, I know you're right, and we've mentioned that before, where you have to be on campus. You have to be wearing a mask, but I won't be on campus too much. It's just weird how things are changing. It's weird going back to normal in a sense, but it's been an interesting time. I'm looking forward to Billy Joel at the end of August that we'll be going to at Fenway Park. It's weird, but it's unfortunate that it's taken this long. That there's still people that still that just don't want any of it. For you though, for the fall, and obviously for your graduation in December, what do you hope for not maybe the URI or the life itself?
Well, I haven't been on campus for a class since before COVID.
Yeah.
My entire year was online, and obviously the summer classes I've taken, they're also all online. So, I mean, I feel like I didn't get the true college experience because of that, not being able to continue to live on campus or sophomore year. But in the fall, I'm only enrolled in 3 classes. All I need that's left to graduate, and I believe that 2 of them are in person as of now. Hopefully, it stays that way because I'd like to get on campus a little bit more all done. Just I don't know, it's not the same as waking up and pulling out my laptop. I want to be able to, even if it's like an 8 a.m., I don't care. I just want to be able to get up and drive to campus. I miss that. I haven't done it in it'll be 2 years pretty much by the time we start again. Well, not really, a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that it stays that way. I hope that nothing changes. Obviously, I've been vaccinated, so I don't have to wear a mask. I respect the people's decisions. If you haven't gotten it, if you have a justified reason, whatever, just have to do what you're supposed to. And hopefully everything goes smoothly. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Dylan Bracken and Jeff Alvis who were on last week's edition. I forget why I even now mentioning this, but it's weird, and you hope that it doesn't go back and spike up, which I don't think it will. I mean, I would think you would have the same opinion. That would stink because then everything goes back online and people get screwed over and stuff. And I know this one guy who I saw like a month ago. His father retired when the pandemic started. Like after that semester ended, he retired because after one semester of online learning, it wasn't for him. So he said, you know what, I'm just retiring. He'd been there for many years. But it's weird though, like in that, not having to wear a mask. Like I remember the first, our week of training for the summer camp. I remember we were coming back from a site we were just looking at for the new counselor, and we were all going to Duncan after. And I always thought, I knew, stuff was different where I didn't have to wear a mask if I didn't want to, but just in case, I didn't want people to get the wrong message that I hadn't been vaccinated or something like that. And I was like, oh yeah, we need our mask. I need my mask to go in. Like, oh no, you don't. So we walked in with no masks on, and I was like, this is really weird. Because after a year and a half of having to wear a mask everywhere, it's weird. Like even just going to work, I know I don't have to, and I know I haven't had to since March where it was, but it's a weird thing that I still can't grasp. That's like, wow, this is how far we've come, and now we don't have to do this after so long. So I
felt the same way when I started not having to wear it at work anymore. I mean, I was comfortable with it, like from health wise, but thinking about what others were going to think. Obviously, during the day, it's not like anyone sees us other than my coworkers, the elderly, and they don't understand enough to care. But what I do most every day is I'm the one who's at the front desk in the morning and in the afternoon. So I bring them in from their families and walk them out to their cars.
Exactly, same.
And I was like, what are the family members going to think when they start seeing me without wearing a mask? Yeah. And at first I did wear it, but eventually I adjusted. And the odd thing is when I went to New York this past weekend, I stopped at Stop and Shop to pick something up. And I walked in and I was the only person not wearing a mask. All of that store was wearing a mask. And I was like, this isn't what it's like at home. Like the workers are wearing them, the shoppers wearing them. Same thing. Went to Walgreens in New York. Same thing. They're all still wearing masks there. So that made me very uncomfortable because I was the odd one out. I'm like, oh, I don't have one on me. I need to get one now because this is everyone's staring at me for not wearing a mask.
Well, that was like when a weekend prior. It was before I still had my other car, I believe. And I was gonna have staff over for our first fire get together. And I was going to Dave's and I was going to Shaw's. Just in case. After saying I didn't have to wear it, I just had my mask just in case. And I walk in, no one's wearing a mask. I don't know how much of the barriers, the glass barrier or plastic barriers, were still up. None of the self-service food was there, but it was just a weird feeling to deal with because a year ago this time, making sure everyone who's walking into the guild when we were there has to wear a mask. Everyone has to wear it, even little kids. And it was just a weird situation that it's just mind-boggling. But that's what it is, and we carry through. Another thing I'll mention on a more lighthearted thing. Today was a special birthday for a friend of ours, Mr.
So
Portland.
when I was waiting for you to come to this Zoom meeting, I had just sat down and I heard beep, 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 beep. I'm like, oh God. And I went out to the front door and who's on his scooter in my driveway?
Paul.
He just stopped by and said hi before I joined the Zoom call. So I saw him today.
63rd, I believe. So we'll have to go to Newport Creamery because now it's starting. I've missed a few.
The buy one get one waffle Monday.
We have to do that with him and your father, and I can bless your father's chops for not coming on with you. I sent it on. I did that thing where you can comment on someone's feed and wished him a happy birthday. He didn't respond back yet, but I had to mention that because he's one of a kind. From time to time, I'll still get messages on Messenger asking how I'm doing, and always asking about school and that sort of stuff. I'm sure he'd have a field day with my car accident, but it is what it is. You mentioned our dear pal Nally is on. I'm curious on how my old roommate and your childhood friend are doing this summer so far.
I saw her once. She's been working. She got a job, kind of like a receptionist at a physical therapist office. So she works afternoons into nights, I believe, Tuesday through Friday from like 1 to 7, something like that.
Okay.
So she's been enjoying that. I think like I said, I saw her once. We went out for lunch. We're gonna try and get dinner next week because I probably haven't seen her since like sometime mid-May, and she lives 5 minutes up the street from me. And then a couple weekends from now, her parents have a house down on the Cape, and I'm going to go down and spend the weekend on the Cape with them. So, but she's good. She's doing well. She's working. That's about it. I don't know if she took any summer classes. I'm not sure. I think she took one summer class.
Okay. What about the other one, Wonder Boy?
Gavin?
Yeah.
I saw him. I've seen him a handful of times. I went to his house once, like the first week we were out of school, and then he met me for dinner a couple nights up here because I guess he had nothing better to do, and he drove all the way here. And I said,
wow.
Okay. Because I was like, I don't have time after work really to drive to Connecticut. I'm working every day. But he's like, oh, I'll come to Providence. I'm like, all right. But this was when I had my summer classes too. So I'm like, are you sure you want to drive all the way here to get dinner to go right back home? Because I can't hang out. I have a lot of schoolwork to do. And he did. So we went to
props to him.
Where did we go? We went to Den Den one night. That place, you've heard us talk about that, have you?
Maybe.
I don't. It's a really good restaurant. I don't know if it's food you'd like. You don't really eat much, but it's good food. It's Korean. And then I think was that the last time I saw him? All right, maybe I only saw him twice, but he's doing well. He took a summer class and he's been working on getting all of his paperwork in order so he can study abroad in France in the fall. Oh, did I tell you? Yeah, I did tell you. Yeah, I did that. Him and Natalie are both going abroad in the fall.
They are. I know Gavin was, obviously thinking last year, then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, right.
Where's she going?
So Natalie, it's funny. It's going to be Annie and I in the house for the first semester.
Hey, I can come over whenever I want now.
Yes, you can actually. You can come over. I told Jenna come over. Everyone can come over. Natalie is going to be studying abroad. She's going to be living on a boat for 2.5 months in the Caribbean. Not like a nice boat, like a research vessel in the middle of the ocean in the Caribbean. So I think it sounds terrible. I don't think I'd like that, but she's very excited and I'm very proud of her because only a few people across the country got accepted to do this.
God bless her for
and she
that.
got accepted to it. So yes, she'll be on a boat in the Caribbean. Gavin will be in France and Annie and I will be at the house in Narragansett on opposite schedules because I work every day during the day and I'm free at night and she has nothing really all day and then theater rehearsals at night. So it'll be like I'm living alone.
Well, then I can come over every night then.
You can come over whenever you'd like. And same for you. I told you, Jenna and I can hang out. Annie would probably love to see you. So I'll be very, very bored if I'm not doing things.
Yeah, now I want. Speaking of at nights, no more. I'm not doing DoorDash anymore. I don't think that's allowed. Mr. Carr said, we're gonna stop because the amount of miles you've been driving for it, and the little pay you get. So I'll do it still with you, but I doubt you.
Now I will drive.
Yes, you'll drive and I will do it. But that was always the case. You always drove and I always did. I'm curious, speaking of school, like we've talked before, and you mentioned down here, one more semester and then that's it. That must be a pretty scary thing in a sense, because it's your final. I mean, you're probably going back for, I don't know, masters or something, but you're first like done with school, probably forever. I mean, that must, feel weird.
Well, it's weird because I didn't really plan on finishing a semester early. It just kind of lined up that way with my classes. I had no intentions to. I was not in a rush. The most classes I've taken in a semester so far in college has been 4. I've never taken more than 4 classes a semester. I've been taking it easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to finish, it's odd. I'm just trying to think about, like, once I graduate, obviously I'll stay down at the house in Narragansett for the full year. But then I got to decide, like, do I want to live there again the following year, even though, I don't know where I'm going to be going to grad school. I'm not going to be going to grad school at URI, most likely. And I'll probably still be working in Cranston. So it's like, maybe I'll go to Rick or PC. I don't know. But what I've been struggling with is, do I want to live down there and have to, like, I don't mind the drive, but also, like, I don't know, I want to change the scenery. I'm ready for something different. Sure. But I started looking just, like, for the heck of it. I can't afford anything. You can get, like, this crappy, tiny little apartment for, like, $1,500 a month. It's ridiculous. Like, yeah. I'd be stupid if I didn't live down in Narragansett again. But for that to work, I, obviously need to talk to the roommates again. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I definitely want to go to grad school, and I'd like to start in the fall of 2022. But I don't know where or what, so I got to figure that all out.
Yeah, you commute from. I'm not leaving. I won't be leaving home anytime soon, both economically and physically. So, fuck it. No, it's weird. I mean, obviously we have one more year, and it's weird. I'm not planning on going back for masters or anything like that anytime soon. So it's weird, regardless if it's December or whenever it may be, a year early, whatever it is. It's a weird feeling that now, after all this, finally, it's almost over, and years of complaining, school sucks and all this stuff, and now it's a weird thing. So now you kind of have to make the most of the short time you have left, because it goes by fast. I mean, an example, and I always talk about camp because, I care way more about that than school. And some of the people we discuss about quite often, I've been here, it's been 5 years, but 6 summers. And, I've enjoyed it, and 9 weeks goes by fast every summer, but I get paid $13 an hour. I'm not going to be doing that till I'm 25, every summer. That's not, unless, I work for the town and it allows me, to do that, but I can't do it forever. So either this year or next year, the final summer, depending on how my schedule looks, is tough. So the end of the road tour, as Elton John has done, is coming soon. It's just, it's weird.
I'm going.
You're going to see him?
I bought tickets. My coworkers and I are going.
Oh, I thought you didn't like him.
I kind of went more for, like, the social aspect of doing stuff with my coworkers, and then they said the price of the ticket, and I was like, "Oh, that's really expensive," but I already agreed.
Oh no, yeah, it is. I remember my mother, when she went, I forget who she went with, but she went, and it was expensive for sure, because he's one of the greatest performers of all time and one of the most successful. And they weren't sitting in the best seats, but they still were there. But it's just it's weird. And I mean, more for you though, because now you have only, what is it, 3.5, 4 months of your schooling left, and
it'll be weird to see everyone else still doing one more semester, and that's what's going to be weird.
It'll be weird for you to be done and just working, and then me bitching about having to wake up at 9 o'clock to be online for the online class at 10. That's what it gives you perspective on life, to say, we gotta make the most of it and do the best we can. I mean, it's final year of tennis, and being on the e-board, make the most of this now with the people I'm with on that team, because that'll be it for me. Speaking of living off campus and stuff, I went at the time I visited Mary Jane and Diamond Dave. Was a wonderful time. We went out, I took him out to Tommy's Clam Shack, and we got ice cream after, down the street at Deer Hearts. The most awful part ever of the day, not one of the most, the ice cream. we got soft serve, and I get up. The fine lady who was a girl who was serving me was like, "Oh, the soft serve is really soft. I just want to warn you that." I get it. It's like a cup of fucking milk. It was It was unbearable. And I mean, getting it all over me. Then Dave's driving, saving my grandmother's cone because it's melting and it's got napkins all over and it's getting all over his beard, gut, and stuff. And it was rough. Then right as I was thinking of leaving, they started to get into a war of words, and MJ said, "Oh, he drinks a case of beer a day, 24 beers a day," and then that got him all riled up and flaming. And then she said something about clean. He said something about cleaning the house, and she said something, and then he goes, "Oh, that's women's work," and I was like, "Oh boy, this is the time to leave," because he just took out the bazooka, and that was rough. And then he had soil in the back of his car that he needed to take out, and it's 60 pounds each bag, and he's not going to do that. So I had to do it. And he wanted to leave in the garage. She wanted in the backyard because then she would have moved it if it shouldn't go there. And he's like, no, we're just going to leave it in the garage. We'll just put it there. And it wasn't trouble. And there were some nice moments that they had, but it was, well, they were obviously missing you and so on and so forth. But I this was similar to last episode, just because I'm kind of not crunching time, but you kind of are. This was definitely interesting. Obviously, it wasn't short-ended, but Mr. Michael Sangiuliano, this has been your time on Ice-T and Meme Show. Yours truly, I thank you again for doing this with me, and I apologize for you waiting for
Don't worry about it.
25, 30 minutes. I know you've been there, and hopefully you're not too late for that, but I appreciate it doing this and helping me out, and I wish we could get your father and your brother here, but that's a
You
different.
will eventually. I just can't be a part of it.
Yeah, eventually. Or this is what happens. This is what happens. I start with them, and then I send you the link, and you just pop on randomly.
That would be funny. I would
That'd
do
be
that.
funny. Then your father and brother would leave and be like, "Oh, uncomfortable." I thank you for doing this, Michael. It means
Thank you for having me.
a great deal, and got to keep moving this forward. We got one more next week, and then season 3. I mentioned this to Michael. I have a list, an Excel sheet of all the celebrities that I wanted to have on, big and small. So hopefully that works, and I got to start putting together who I want to have first. So we'll look at that, but pushing this forward. And if you enjoyed what you listened to and watched, do me and Michael a humongous favor, because he really wants you to do this. Subscribe to the show, like it, click that bell notification button, and click that share button so you can let all your friends and family know, because that tells you that you're investing in it, and that means a great deal to me that you're doing that much. We need to pump it up a little bit more, but I thank you all. And in the words of Johnny Carson, I bid you all a heartfelt good night. See you soon.